Right. So last time we just saw an introduction to AI and intelligence, right? And we saw that intelligence is not a very simple thing to measure or to build. There's a lot of different aspects, things that go into making AI. So we'll see now how AI is used in today's world, the different applications, right? So we're going to be looking at four different fields. First, we have medicine, healthcare. Um, and so basically, AI is really good at making scans for once, right? CT scans, detecting cancers, and it can help scientists with research to create new medicines and to handle logistics in hospitals. So hospitals have a big task of organizing their patients' data, organizing response times to ambulance emergencies. So AI is really good at managing all this stuff. Um, and then we have environment, right? So detecting hunters, right? Criminal deforestation, so illegal cutting of trees. Some areas are protected. We have things like wildlife sanctuaries where people aren't really allowed to hunt animals. And AI is good at detecting when someone might be breaking the rules there. Right? And we have farming irrigation too, optimizing how you water your crops. Pests are also a big deal. So you guys know about locusts? Does anyone know what a locust is? So it's basically this type of insect. And the thing about locusts is that they come in huge swarms, right? So you'll have this massive wave that can come over a crop field and like they leave a lot of damage. So AI is pretty good at predicting when you might have a locust wave. So you can take precautions to protect your crops because locusts like they can really damage whatever you've been growing. And then you have economic finance, which is a big area of AI today. So you can identify poverty. Like, has anyone seen this image before? This map?
Yes,
Yes. So
No.
can anyone tell me like, why is this here? What do we gain from this?
I think the most highlighted parts
is,
are countries where poverty is less.
Okay. Anyone else?
is it like where electricity is found, like where like there are houses where electricity is there, not like slums and all?
Yeah, so that's right. This is nighttime imagery taken by satellites, and these bright areas, right, they have electricity, they are well developed. Right, so these are sort of the richer parts of the world. And you see, like, you have this large part of Western North America here that's a little dark compared to the East. A lot of Africa is dark, South America. So this really dark part would be the Amazon rainforest, right? That's why there's not a lot of light there. So you look at pictures like these and you get a sense for how uneven development in the world is. It's not distributed equally. Even within one continent, one half might be doing way better than the other. So AI can detect patterns like these within data. That's one of the best things that it can do. Then we have creative work, which is sort of the other side. So everyone knows about Dolly, right? These AI applications that can make art based on existing data, right? So these are like, does anyone know these paintings over here, the original ones?
By Van Gogh, right?
Yeah,
Like the
these
first
are
one.
I know this.
That's
Vincent van
nice.
Gogh.
yeah, these are really well-known paintings,
I
right,
know
by
about
Van
the
Gogh.
second one, but I forgot the name. Something
I
like
Oh,
think,
Screaming Mom.
yeah, this one's the Scream. That one I think is called Starry Night, right?
Yes.
So Van Gogh had his really distinct style of art, and AI can kind of replicate, reproduce that. And then it can also preserve historical sites. So a lot of, so the monuments in Greece, right? They actually are really sensitive to damage. So even if you wear like high heels, that can kind of chip away at the monuments there. So you're not really allowed to wear high heels when you visit some of the historical sites of ancient Greece. So AI can help with restoration projects, right? Inspect where some areas might be getting chipped away and damaged. Um, and then you have music, dance, right? And then we come to some of the not so good effects of AI. So anyone have any guesses of what might be some downsides to AI? Guys, just any guesses?
Screen addiction.
I'm sorry?
Screen addiction, like you get addicted
Okay.
to apps.
Anything else, Shub?
Making a person
There won't
lazy.
be like a lot of transparency or privacy. There will be like a lot too much transparency and not a lot of privacy.
Okay, so privacy, transparency, addiction, right?
It can make a human lazy.
Lazy.
AI take over the world.
Okay, so taking over the world. So we have all these conceptions, right, of some of the downsides. Um, so yeah, ethical considerations are a big part, right? Shubh mentioned transparency, which is also a major thing, right? We're hearing stories about big companies like Facebook and Google who aren't really handling our data very well. And we don't really know what they do with it, what goes on behind the closed curtains. So here's a scenario. If you have a self-driving car and it sees the road is blocked, but on the other side, you have some pedestrians. Right now, the car is confused. It could either bump into the barrier, which could probably hurt the passengers inside, or it could, well, it shouldn't really run into the pedestrians either. So a lot goes into deciding how an AI system would deal with this kind of situation, who you'd blame, right? Who should be held accountable for such a situation? And then you have social aspects too, right? Unemployment is a big concern. That as AI is growing stronger, it's less necessary to employ human people to do tasks that AI simply does better. Yeah, that's about it. We'll just move on to Python. I know that's what you guys are most excited for, right? So I'll stop sharing. So can everyone open Colab, please? Google Colab. Does anyone need me to send the link?
Send the link in the chat.
Yeah. So anyone give me a recap of what they remember from last class?
We learned about the strings, float. We learned
Okay,
how to code the input and the print. Mm.
right. Great. Yeah, so we'll continue right from there. Um, so today we'll just look at some more data types, right? I'll create a new code block. So just to recap some of the data types we saw, we have string, integers, and float. So so we saw you can convert data types from one type to another, right? So for example, the input function, does anyone remember what data type the input function gives? If I take an input from the user, what data type is it going to be in? Okay, so the input function, if I have name equals good, when I get a value from the user, by default, it's going to be in a string type. So we can convert data type with these built-in functions. We have int for integers, str for strings, and float. So if you ever want to make string an integer, you just put the string within these brackets over here of the int function. And same thing, if you want to make something a string, you'd put it inside str and inside float to make it a float. Anyone remember what a float is? What do I
Float
mean?
Decimal
allows
numbers.
the input of both
Decimal
integers.
numbers.
It allows the input for integers as a value.
Yeah, so float is also a numeric data type where we mainly handle decimal numbers. Integers have 1, 2, 3, 0, negative numbers, but in float, you have decimal points, right? 1.0, 1.1, negative numbers 2, and so on. Um, so why are data types important? If I try to add some numbers, 4 plus 5, can anyone give me the output for this code?
9.
Yeah, so the output's going to be 9, but if I do this, now does anyone have any idea of what this will do?
It won't give the output, I guess.
Right, anyone else?
The reason is because
Will print 45.
45, okay. Any other answers?
the thing is because you're adding 5 with the string 4. So it will still be taken as a number. So 4 plus 5 is 9. So it will be given as a number.
Okay, yeah, so we will get an error because we're trying to add a string to an integer, which doesn't really work. I think a curve mentioned 45, which would work if both are of string type. So if you're using this plus operator, you can either do it with string plus string or integers plus integers, right? They have to be of the same type. If they're both numeric, you'll just get the normal sum. And if there's strings, it's just going to join up the string. Instead of 4 and then 5, you get 4, 5 in a single string. And then we also have multiplication. So I'll get rid of the quotes here. I do 4 times 5. Anyone have any idea what this will give?
20.
20.
Yeah, so that's going to give 20. If I make these both strings, now what's going to happen?
It's again going to show 45.
Error.
But
Error.
add both 4 and 5 as a string. So they will be like 45.
Gonna be
45
error.
error. Okay. So we are going to get an error. This asterisk, which represents multiplication, it doesn't work the same as plus. So 45 only works if I have plus. But the way I can make this work with strings, it's if I have one string and one integer. So now when I do this, I get the string 4 printed 5 times. So with plus, whereas you needed the same data type, with multiplication, you can have obviously integers multiplied with integers, or you can have strings multiplied with integers, which basically just repeats the string how many ever times you want. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Yeah, everyone clear with that? So when I say int
Yeah.
is int, yeah, it's also applies to floats. So I actually have one last question about this. What if I do, see, same example 4 times this? Now, can anyone give me the output this time? Any guesses? Anything?
Would be 444.
I think it's really for
Error.
three, four, that's four.
Okay, error 444.
Hopefully repeated 3 times.
It will be repeated 3 times. So let's see. And we get an error again. Why did this happen? So when we see 3.0 in our minds, 3.0 is the same as 3, right? These two are the same. But when Python sees 3.0, it's going to take this as a float value, not as integer. And we said strings can only be multiplied with integers, right? So Python sees this, it doesn't recognize both the types, and it throws an error, right? Is that clear to everyone?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. So now all that's done. So now we'll move on to another data type. Does anyone have any idea what I mean by this word, Boolean? Like, does anything come to your mind at all? Okay.
Boolean.
Booleans. So what are Booleans? It's a true or false value, right? So Python can store string values, right? Integers like 1, 2, 3, 4, right? So Python also has these true and false values. And you can see they change color when I type them out because the interpreter recognizes these words, right? So what do I mean by true or false? So guys, in your tests, you have true or false questions, right? You have a statement and it's either true or it's false. There's no in between. It's one of the two. So we're going to use the same concept in Python. If I say 6 is greater than 3, is this true or false?
True.
That's
True.
yeah, it's obviously true,
True.
right? So also we have these arithmetic operators plus into subtraction, division, and we can also use these relational operators. We have greater than, less than, greater than or equal to, right? I'm sure you guys are familiar with this stuff, right?
Yes.
Yeah. And for equal to, you use two equal to signs if you want to show some sort of comparison. So basically, we can make these sort of comparisons in Python, and it can tell us whether a statement that we give is true or false. So obviously, 6 is greater than 3. That's a pretty basic example. So where would I try to use this? Let's say I'm getting someone's age, right? And I want to find out whether they are whether they're 15 years old or not, right? Are they above the age of 15 or are they not? So I can do this and I can use this really cool function called if. And what if is going to do? So every time you use if, you have to provide some condition. And it's going to look at this condition. If it's true, it's going to execute it. If it's false, it's going to ignore whatever code I have written inside my if. So actually, before we move on, does anyone know what I mean by indentation in Python? Anyone anything, and indentation.
No.
Like like when you enter from the colon, like there's automatically a space between um like one gap like
Yeah.
It
between.
basically it makes the text more readable.
Okay. So Python has this thing where if I use a colon, right? So with if statement, I first use the word if, then I give a condition, and then I put a colon. That's the general syntax of how you'd start if. After my colon, I need to leave these spaces before I write my code. Yeah. So what happens is I can put whatever code I want, right? Some code that can go on for a few lines. Um, oops, right? And then once I'm done with whatever I want my if to execute, I can continue my code with the rest without a space. So I'll just show this real quick. So I'm going to get my age, right, from the user. That's what the first line is going to do. The second line is going to check whether my age is greater than 15. If it is, it's going to look at whatever is inside the if. And when I say inside the if, I mean all the code that has this space before it, right? That's how you know whether something is part of the if or whether it's part of the other code. So once I'm done with my if, Python will go to the next line and it sees whatever code is remaining outside the space. So once it prints my age, right, it's going to give me the age, it's going to come out of if, and it's going to print the string that I gave it. Does everyone understand this?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So for example, um, okay, let's say I enter my age as 8. When I press enter, what's going to happen? Can anyone tell me?
The if
It will
statement
not
won't
Will
print
work.
it
the
not accept it?
statement.
It won't accept.
It's
Okay,
gonna say
anything else?
false.
It's going to say
It won't
false.
print the statement if statement is over.
Okay, so I'm going to enter my age and it only prints this last line. So why did that happen? When my age is 8, is that greater than 15? No.
No.
So it doesn't look at the code that has this space before it. Whatever's inside the if gets ignored, and Python simply skips whatever is after if, which is this line over here. So only this part is what I need. Only this part is going to be executed if my age is greater than 15, and whatever is outside of it is going to happen regardless as normal Python code. Is that clear to everyone?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I have
Yeah.
a doubt.
Oh, yes.
Can we can put like two if statements, right? So if age is less than 15, we can do like that also, right?
Yeah, we can. So we'll come to that, right? So you can have multiple if statements. So I could say if age is greater than 15, and print the age, or if age is less than 15, then I can say print you are comma age years old. So if I want to print multiple things in one print statement, then you can separate those with commas, right? So I have one string here, comma, so Python will put a space. Whenever I put a comma, these three things are going to be separated by commas. I have one string, which is UR. Then I have age, which is going to be this value right here. And I have years old. So I have three inputs for my print statement, and they are all going to be separated by a space. Everyone is familiar with that, I hope, right?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, so one more thing to note here.
Yes.
Um, I have these spaces before my code again. If I don't put this, then yeah, then it's going to give me an error because I have to indent this. Otherwise, it's not going to recognize anything within my if statement, right? So now when I enter my age as 8, it's going to tell me you are 8 years old, and then the if statement is over. So it first took my age, it checked for this condition, it was false, so it skipped all this code over here. Then it checked the next if statement, but that was true, so it went inside, executed this code, came out, and executed this code. I hope everyone's fine with this. Am I going too fast?
Yes. No.
No.
Anyone need me to explain anything again, please? Everyone's clear with this.
What's the point of if statement is over?
Well, that's just example code. So maybe after I'm done taking age, I could say I can now take your name, right? That's just an example. I can continue whatever code I have after this, right? So this is called a conditional statement, and I use it
Yeah.
if, yeah. So I use if statements if I want Python to execute code only if a condition is fulfilled, right? If age is less than
Yeah.
15, this will happen. If it isn't, and I want Python to do nothing about it, then it won't do anything if age is less than 15. So if I wanted to, I'll actually give you guys a question right here, make this more clear of why we use this. I'll put this in chat. Can you guys give me a program that tells you whether you are old enough to vote? Old enough to vote, right? So you need to be, so how do I know whether or not I'm old enough to vote? Like, just like forget Python, just in general. Like, how do I know if I'm old enough to vote?
You have
If
to be
you're
like
above 18,
18
you have the right
plus.
to
You
vote.
need to be 18 plus.
You have to
Yeah,
be 18 plus.
yeah. So my age needs to be more than 18. So that's a condition, right? So if this condition is fulfilled, then I want my code to tell the user you can vote. And if it's not fulfilled, if I'm less than 18, then my code needs to tell the user you can't vote. So does anyone want to do this code with me over here? Anyone?
I'll do it.
Do it? Yeah? Okay. So how would we start?
So the start will be first we'll give a variable age.
Okay.
After that equal to
Mm-hmm.
int.
Right.
We'll open a bracket
Yeah.
and then we'll type in input so that we can specify what kind of input we are going to be giving.
Yeah.
And after that we'll open another bracket inside.
Yep.
And then in semicolons will be in apostrophe, I mean
Yeah. Yeah.
double quotation marks will be
Mm-hmm.
writing, please enter your age.
Great.
Then after that, we'll enter if,
Mm-hmm.
and we'll write if age is greater than 18,
Yeah.
and then we'll put a colon.
Mm-hmm.
We'll go down to the next line.
Space or no space?
Yeah, we'll we'll enter. We'll press the enter so that we'll open another code. We'll open another line, and then
Yeah.
over there after the indentation mark, we'll be typing in print.
Mm-hmm.
Then we'll open a bracket and we'll write you are eligible to vote,
Quotes or no quotes?
like in quotes.
Right. And anything else?
And then after that, we'll be typing in else,
Okay.
and then we'll be putting a colon, and then after that, enter.
Mm-hmm.
Then after that, we'll be typing print. You are not eligible to vote in quotes.
Right. So, oh guys, right, the meeting's about to end. We're using Zoom on free. So, everyone join back after this ends. Same link that's in the WhatsApp group, right? Um, yeah, so you guys, once we join back, you guys can send your code again, right? I hope everyone has something similar to this, right? Based on what we did earlier, right? Yeah,
Yes.
okay. So you can just take a screenshot and put it in the chat.
The else doesn't require the quotation marks.
Else, you have to put a colon after. You don't need any condition for that.
Okay.
Okay, so we'll do if and else now, right? Um, before we do that, I want to make sure everyone is everyone clear with what Boolean means? True or false? So to give you guys some more examples here, um, I'll share my screen, right? So when I say if age is greater than 18, I'll actually skip this. I can actually just put this within a print statement. And what happens if, so let's say my age is 20, right? So now you can actually see how this works. When Python sees a condition like this, it's going to return a true or false value, right? So when I have an if statement, like this is the general syntax. If condition and then colon. So it's going to see what value ends up here. It's going to look at the condition and evaluate it the same way it did this. And it's going to either end up being if true or if false, right? So it's going to basically simplify my condition to one of these two values, right? The same way I have 5 plus 4 equals 9, right? If I print 5 plus 4, it gives me 9. If I print age is greater than 18, I'll get true. True is a separate value in and of itself. Is this clear to everyone?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So we'll now look at some more conditional statements. We have if, we also have elif, and we have else. So the syntax for elif is the same as if. You go elif, you give some condition, and then you put a colon, indentation, then whatever code you have. But for else, you don't give any condition. You just put else, colon, and you write your code. So these are pretty self-explanatory, the way these work. You start any condition with if, right? So you wouldn't start any sort of conditional statement with elif or else. If comes first, and you give the condition one, and condition one evaluates to true, it's going to enter the block, execute my code, and then it's going to skip all of this, right? My elif and my else, are going to be ignored by Python, and it's going to jump straight away to whatever I have after here. So if I say print hello, right? It's going to first check condition one. If that's true, it can ignore condition two in my elif and my else code. None of this will be executed, and it's just going to print hello. If this is false, it's going to move on to condition two. If that's true, execute code two. I'll number these. Execute code two, ignore the else, and jump straight to this. But if elif is also false, we'll come into else, and then we'll move on with the code. So, okay, that was really wordy. So I'll just ask, if condition one is true, can anyone give me the output? What's Python going to do?
Print hello.
Okay, is code one going to be executed?
Will elif
Yes.
and the else will be like skipped?
Okay, yeah. So, okay, what if condition one and condition two, what if they're both true? Then what's going to happen?
Condition one will be skipped.
Condition one will be skipped. Anyone else?
So error.
Throw error, okay. So these, when I start an if, right, all of these statements are connected. My if, my elif, and my else, they're all sort of part of one code, right? So Python is just going to go line by line, condition by condition. When it sees condition one is true, it doesn't matter whether or not condition two is true or not. Because once it starts my if condition, the rest of this is going to be thrown away, and it ends my conditional statement there. So only code one will be executed, and then we'll move on to whatever's after my conditional statement. Elif, it's only going to do this if condition one is false, right? Does everyone understand this?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So my else, so when will else be executed? When is code three going to be executed?
If if is
If
and
condition
elif
one and
is like
condition
not correct.
are not true.
Yeah.
Condition
So
one and condition two are not true.
yeah. So Python goes line by line, right? So first it looks at my if. If that's true, you execute it and you skip the entire code block. If it's false, you check your elif, and same thing. If that's also false, then you can have multiple elifs actually. You can have as many as you want, right? So it's just going to keep on checking these, right? If it's false, next one, false, next one, false, next one, all the way until it's done. And if they're all false, then it's just going to print my else code regardless of what happens, because I don't have any condition here, right? The moment it finds a condition to be true, it's going to execute the code that's inside and skip everything else. Is that clear to everyone?
Yes.
Yeah. So, okay. So last time when we did this age thing, I used two if statements, right? If my age was greater than like 18, or you can then put if age is less than 18. Now I can also do this another way. I can say if age is greater than 18, elif age is less than 18. Can anyone tell me the difference between these? There's a difference. Why would I choose one over the other? Anyone have any guesses? Like anything at all? Or do you think they're the same?
Both the conditions will be true.
Both the conditions will be true. Like, why would I use elif if I can just keep on putting if again and again? Anyone have any ideas?
Fair.
Hmm? So
If I have error.
it won't show error. So the thing is, remember this elif is connected to the if. When I say if, I'm starting a brand new conditional statement. So what's going to happen is, well, I mean, I guess this was sort of a bad example. Um, I can take condition one, condition two, and I'll do that here too. So when Python looks at if, it's going to start a new statement. If condition one's true, this is going to be executed. Then it's going to come to my second line and it's going to look at it, right? In if elif, once my condition is fulfilled, it's going to execute my code here and ignore all of this, right? But over here, even if my first condition is true, it's still going to look at what I put in my second if statement because I'm starting a new line here. This elif is part of the same conditional statement, right? So if condition one and condition two are true, both of these will be executed. But if condition one and condition two are true over here, only the first one will be executed and Python will ignore the second one, right? Is everyone clear with that?
Yes.
Yes.
I think I'll give an example. So we'll do the same age thing, right? Let's say you have to be more than 12 years old to be a teenager, and you have to be more than 18 years old to be an adult, right? So I have two conditions, right? One is where age is greater than 12, which means I am a teenager, and one is where my age is more than 18, which means I am an adult. So now if I say if age is more than 12, right? And print you are a teenager. And if age is greater than, let's say, 18, right? Print you are an adult. Now we'll see the same thing with elif. So I can just copy this. Okay. So I'm going to, well, actually first execute just the two ifs. So if I enter my age as, let's say, 21, can anyone give me the output for this?
You are an adult.
You are an
You are
adult.
a teenager, you are an adult.
Okay. And there's a typo here. Yeah. So I get both my statements. I get teenager and I get adult,
Yeah,
right?
because it's 21 is more than 18 and
Mhm.
17.
Yeah. So both of my conditions were satisfied here. When Python executed the first if, it saw another if, and it started a whole new cycle of conditional statements, right? So remember we saw like it checks one condition, then and if that's false, then the other. And the moment it finds something to be true, it executes that and ignores the rest, right? That's only for one conditional statement, right? For only one set of ifs, elifs. But once I start a whole new thing with another if, it's going to repeat that again. So now it's again going to look at my if. And if I have any more elifs after this, then it will look at those, and then more of those. And then if there's an else, it will look at that too. We'll actually do this with elif now. Can anyone give me the output for this when I entered 21?
You are an adult.
Okay.
An adult.
Is everyone
You get
sure?
teenager. A teenager.
Teenager. Is everyone sure about you are an adult? You are a teenager. What's going to happen is I'll only get the first one, right? So this time Python got a true condition with my if, and it's going to ignore my elifs, right? So this ignoring thing only happens with elifs and elses, not with new ifs. This is the main thing, right? Only elifs and else gets ignored um, when Python finds a true condition. And if condition is always going to be checked. Python will never ignore condition checking for an if statement. Is everyone clear with that?
Yeah.
Yes.
Can you just wait? If you want to like know if you're a teenager, like age is greater than 12, and can it be like and age is smaller than 18, like that?
Yeah. So here, right, this code doesn't work very well, right? Ideally, we'd want it to print adult if age is 21 and teenager only if age is like 15, right? So you could use and, right, logical operators for that, but there's actually a clever way to do that same thing with only if and elif. The same thing that we've got here. Do you have any idea what I could change in my code so that it
You can
only
put and after 12.
I could, but I mean, let's say I don't want to do that. Let's say I can't use and or, right? We're not covering that right now. There is one way, just if elif and migrate to
Or,
design. Does anyone have any ideas of what I could do?
or, or what?
Or so remember, Python goes line by line when checking, right? Which means I have control over which conditions it's going to check first. So what I can do here is I can switch my conditions. So first I put 18 and then I put 12, right? Now when I do this, if I put 21, then, oh, I need to change these two. That's my bad. Okay, we'll execute this now. So can anyone tell me why this is better now? Let's say I put 17 as my age.
Because
Yeah,
it shows because it checks if you are 18 or above first, then it'll go towards the 12 or above.
Now it will be you're a teenager.
yeah. So now it worked the way I wanted to, right? So first, so I have these multiple conditions. I have 18 and then I have 12. So it first looks at whether or not I'm 18 or above. And once it eliminates that, then I know I'm either a teenager or I could say I'm a child. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I got it.
Yeah. So
What if the age is like yours is 18, exactly 18?
exactly 18. Then we can use age is greater than equal to 18. That fine?
All
Yes.
right.
So now this is going to be true if you're above 18 or if you're exactly 18 too. And I can do the
So by putting this greater than and the equal together, it means greater than or equal. So even if the input that we are putting is 18, it will say that you are an adult.
yes.
Okay.
So let's say I put 18, I'm going to get adult, right? Because the moment this becomes true, Python will execute this code and all of this is going to be ignored. It won't check those conditions. So I hope everyone's fine with this. Is this clear to everyone,
Yes.
right? You can control what conditions Python checks first by ordering your ifs and your elifs, right? So you have this sort of process of elimination, right? Um, I can first, if I have multiple conditions, so let's say I can put something like greater than equal to 3 years old, and then I could go um, and let's say otherwise your baby, right? So what's going to happen? If my age is more than 18, that obviously means that I'm an adult. This is going to be executed. Let's say I'm a teenager, then you check the next statement. If that's not true, I might be a child or a baby. So first we'll check whether or not I'm a child. If that's true, then I've got it and I can print that. If that's not true, we'll go to the last step and we'll check whether or not I'm a baby. Is everyone fine with that?
Yeah.
Yeah. So we'll have another question. Um, write a program, it's the same thing to check whether you can vote. And if you can't, then tell the user in what year they can vote,
Okay.
right? So class is about to end. You guys can just do this. Yeah, it's fine if you can leave. We have like 3 minutes anyway. So you guys can use the same code for the last question. Just modify it for this extra part, and then we'll wrap it up.
Okay.
And then you can put it in chat.
Okay.
Does anyone want to do it with me here actually? Right? We can,
Only.
yeah. So
That's
we have this right from last time. And then we put the if. We can put greater than equal to, right?
You
Same
can
code from last time.
else print you cannot vote.
Okay. So how do I tell the user in what year they can vote? What do I do with this code? How do I modify this? Anyone want to do it with me here?
I do.
Yeah, sure. Okay.
So we can write in the else statement we can write you cannot vote then you also you can vote in then and this string command
Okay.
and no, in the same
Yeah,
line,
okay.
not a separate line,
Okay.
in the same
Okay.
line. In the same line. Okay,
So
you cannot vote full stop. You can vote in and
yeah,
that and yeah. Then after the string command write 18 minus age, comma 18 minus age.
18 minus age.
Then
Uh,
comma,
mm-hmm.
comma and then years.
That
And yes.
yeah. So
That
okay, what year? How would I tell the user what year it would be? 2000 and what?
I'm not sure about that. I can like say we can just like say you can
We
vote in
can
like 12 years or something.
we
Yeah,
can do one thing. We can say years to wait will be equal to 18 minus age.
mm-hmm.
And then we'll make another string eligible year, which is current year plus years to wait. And then we print you are eligible to vote in eligible year. Basically, the string we made above.
Yeah, so that's great. So I know how many years I have to wait to vote by this thing here, right? 18 minus age. So I'll just clean this up. So how many years I have to wait, I can get by doing 18 minus age. And how many years into the future that will be? Just going to be 2024, right? So future year, that's going to be this year, which is 2024 plus years. So if I'm 12, I have to wait 6 years to vote, which means the year that time is going to be 2024 plus 6. I hope this is clear to everyone.
Yes.
So this is what a final code would look like. Anyone want to give me their age so I can test this code? How old are you guys?
12.
14.
13?
13.
Okay, I'll go 30. Yeah. So everyone okay with this,
Yeah.
right? So we'll end the class then, right? We're already a minute extra.